Hi, in today's video, we're going to go over GoFullPage's premium features. So if you'd like to follow along, go to GoFullPage.com and click on blog. Once you've done so, we're going to just make sure that all the images and posts that we want have loaded. So go ahead and click on Load More Posts and make sure that all the images are good to go. Once you've done so, come over to your pinned extension and click on it to create a screen capture. You'll end up here with me. Once you do, you'll be able to see all of the different options that we have gone over and that we can do, which are edit for premium members. You can crop, edit, annotate, and more, which is what we'll go over today. You can report any issues, delete this image, download it as a PDF, download it as an image, go to all of the files that you have, or you can go to your options, which allow you to change the different settings here or go to your account. For now, we're going to go to edit, which will allow us to play with some of the premium features. So in premium, you're able to add different shapes such as rectangles, ovals, lines, arrows, add some text, add blur, add stickers. You're also able to change the formatting such as crop the image, add the URL or the date and time, add a padding and border, undo, redo, zoom in or zoom out, and change some different theme defaults and go back to these different options. You're also able to see some different shortcuts that you can use, such as shortcuts to insert shapes, create document edits, zoom, add layers, and undo, redo, export, and more. So let's go over each of these in turn. The first thing we're going to do is actually crop. So if we go over here to formatting, we can crop this image by clicking on crop image. You'll see that it's given us now the option to drag these different sections in, out, up, or down. In our case, I think that I'd just like to take off this bottom section and put it up to where we have it to load more posts. And also at the top, I want to take it down to just be GoFullPage blog. Let's go ahead and come over here and see what we can do. We can change the different axes by doing increase or decrease for width, height, X, and Y. Let's go ahead and say done cropping. Now we have a nice clean image. Next, what we can do is we can add the URL and the date and time if we'd like to. Right now they're both set to none, but if I'd like to have the URL on the bottom, then I can click on URL on bottom. Now we can see this has been added here to the bottom. And once you've added that, you can add things like date and time, which will appear here. I can add the date, I can add the date and time, I can add that in a particular format, such as ISO, or I can say none. Same with URL on the top, which moves that bar up here to the top. And you can do the same thing where you add the date and time, add the international standard for that. You can also change this formatting for this URL and browser to show the tab by clicking Windows or Mac OS. And you can still see that we have the date and time showing here in this format, or none. In our case, let's go ahead and make it to where it's a Mac OS and we add the ISO date and time. When we look at this now, we can see we have this sort of browser toolbar and you can see the date and time, and then we can see the rest of the page that we've cropped. If we now go over to formatting and we want to add padding or a border, we can do so here. We can see that it's given us a particular color, which we can change here. We can also increase or decrease the amount of padding here. So let's say we wanted to change this to 60, then we have more padding here. If we put it back to 40, we can see what that looks like here. We can turn it on or we can turn it off. Now we can also change the color of this fill by going here or change the opacity of the fill by sliding this bar here. I like how it looks kind of bolded like this, but you can change the colors like this if you'd like to. If you wanted to go back or undo anything you've changed, you can do that up here. Now if we go back to this padding and border settings on the side, you can also change the color of the outline. Currently, the color of the outline is this gray color. If we wanted to change that, we can do that here and click the different color that we would like. I'm going to put it back to gray, but for now you can also see that you can change the width of that outline. Now if we zoom back out, we can see what it looks like here. If we'd like to add any shapes, we can do that under Shapes. We've already gone over how to crop, how to add the URL and the date and the padding and the border, but if you'd like to add anything else, we can do that here. Let's go ahead and add a rectangle. We can see that it's added here. And in this case, let's say that we want to focus everyone's attention on our latest post. So we come over here and we can drag to resize this particular shape. We can zoom in to get really precise. So we can go like this. And if we'd like to, we can do the same types of things as change the different sizes here at the top. We can add a fill if we'd like to and add a different color. Change the opacity if we'd like to, like this, and more. We can add our own hex code. We can add our own RGBA, and we can just choose from these different options if we'd like to, or we can undo what we've done. Now, if we go back here, we can change the width of this particular outline as well. We can change, let's say, to be really thick, or we can go smaller to make it thinner if we'd like. I'm going to go ahead and keep it at 4. We can also change how rounded the corners are, the radius of that. So we can say, let's say at 10, and you can see here that this has changed, or we can go to 1 or 0 or whatever works best for you. I think it looks nice at 10. And I kind of like this purple color, so I will leave it as purple. So let's go ahead and zoom out and see how we're doing so far. Right now it looks like this, but we can add a few more things to this particular page. Let's go back to Shapes. And let's say that we want to use an oval. So let's go ahead and add an oval. It's a little bit thick from a width standpoint, so let's go ahead and make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to put it at a 1. And let's say we want to highlight the name of this person who's being highlighted in this particular issue. So let's say that we want to highlight Naomi West's name. We can zoom in and make this really precise. So go ahead and click on it, and we're going to just play with this particular spacing. You can make it smaller, we can make it bigger, as you like. So now that we've been able to do that, let's go ahead and use another formatting shape. So let's go to Shapes and put line. So when we go ahead and make line, we can, let's say we want to really underscore who the author was here. We can do that by going over to this section and redoing how this line appears. We can make it go up or down or straight or however we like. We can make it as thick or as thin as we would like as well. In our case, I think it's a little bit too thick, so let's go ahead and decrease the width here and re-put it under that particular name. And we can also make it to where we change the color as we've done in the previous steps. I think it would be good to match the rest of the colors, so I'm going to make it this purple color. We can also add a fill here, but it's not going to look very good for our purposes if we do so because of the particular way that this is set up. So we can go ahead and take it off, and we can come back out. So now this is looking pretty good, and it's making it a little bit more obvious where we'd like to draw the eye. So let's go back to Shapes, and let's say we would like an arrow. Now that we have the arrow, we can position it however we'd like. We can move it around as we'd like. We can undo and redo if we want to as well. So I'm going to go ahead and redo and move it over here, because I want to emphasize to the person I'm showing this to that I want them to focus particularly on this latest post. So if we want to make this particular arrow thicker or thinner, we can do that under width as well. Let's say we make it 60, which is quite large. Then we can make it to where it's extended or more contracted, and we could make it smaller or bigger as we would like. So I'm going to actually make mine, let's say 30. And then I want it to be here right in the middle. I think that looks pretty nice. And we can always zoom out and double check that it's having the visual appeal that we would like. We can also add some text if we want to. So I'm going to go ahead and enter some text here. I'm going to say, check out our latest post. Now, if we move this around, let's say we want it to be here, we can do a lot of different things with this as well. We can change the different numbers up here to correspond to the width and height and so on. We can change the size of the font by increasing or decreasing. Let's say we make it 60, or we can make it 25, or whatever else. We can also change the type of font, so we can make this Arial, we can make this Comic Sans, we can make this Impact, we can make it Courier New, we can make it Georgia, whichever one you'd like. I'm going to use Impact. I'm just going to zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. So here's our text here. I'm also going to align this. You can do left, center, or right. In my case, I'm going to do center. So now that we have this centered and we have it the size that we'd like, we can make this bold or italic if it was particularly not bold before. And I think I'm going to keep it as italic. I think the color still looks fine the way it is, but I can also add an outline to this text if I would like to. Let's say I'd like for it to be a black outline and I want to make it a width of 1. So now you can see how this has changed to have there be an outline around the text. So that might be a good way to show how this could be read a little bit easier when somebody is looking at this. Or if you prefer to not have an outline, you can take it off like this. So let's zoom out a little bit and see how we're doing. I think it's coming along pretty well. We can change this however we'd like. We can move things around, change the colors as we said before, change all of these different opacities to make it a little bit less, a little bit more bold. I'm going to put it back to purple. Now, another thing that we can do is we can blur. So let's say we wanted to add a blur so that we're able to focus everyone's attention, particularly on this latest post. So as with everything else, we can make it bigger or smaller, and we can also make it to where there's more or less of a blur. So let's say we went from instead of 5, we went 15. So now you really can't see what this is saying underneath. So if you had any confidential material, or if you really just wanted to draw someone's eye to a particular area of the page, you can do so using this blur effect like this. I'm going to keep it at 10. So you can also make it to where you copy and paste this and move it to other sections as well. But in our case, I'm just going to keep it on this particular one. Another thing that you can do is add stickers. So let's say we wanted to add the sticker of this emoji. Now we can add that anywhere we'd like. Let's say we add it here in the corner. If we wanted to as well add another sticker and layer it on top, let's say we wanted to have this angel, we can do so like this. But let's say we wanted one to appear before the other, we can do that by coming over here and dragging the layers above and below each other. So you can see that we were able to take this screen capture that we got from this page and turn it into this very dynamic page like this. So now we've explored things like cropping an image, adding the URL and the date, adding padding and a border, adding different shapes such as a rectangle, an oval, a line, an arrow, text, blur, and stickers. So that's what we're going to stop for today, but I just wanted to show you before we do how you can download and export this either as a PDF or a PNG and how that looks. So let's go ahead and download this as a PNG. We can go ahead and add this to our downloads and give it a name. Let's call this GoFullPage blog, edited, and save. You can take a look at what that looks like here. So we can see how good that looks and how we can see all of our changes that we made here and how this was able to layer like this for us and the blur we have here. We can also go back to where we were and download a PDF version, give it a new name, go full page, blog, edited, save. Now when we view this particular one, we're able to see this as a PDF and how that came out. And it looks pretty good. So as I said, we'll stop there for today, and I will go in the next video how to do different theme defaults and how to go to your different options down in this section.